Hey everybody, welcome to my channel. I'm going to share these with you very soon. This is everything that I've read since the beginning of September, so I will be going through all of those. This is my very first video, and I hope to heck you enjoy it. A little weird for me. I'm not one who likes to be on camera, so this is definitely a test. I've made like just sort of a short list here of everything because my memory's not the greatest, so hopefully I can remember everything that needs to be said. Yeah, so let me just kind of give you sort of a spread on what we're going to do. Today, I'm going to go through again what I've read. Then what I'll do is I'll do another video because I do have everything picked out for what I'm going to be reading between now and the end of the year. So I guess my TBR for you. So I'll do that in the next video. I do have a few things planned which we will talk about. And that's going to be some of the things that I have ideas for going forward. And, you know, love to hear any ideas you guys might have as well. So before we get started, just hang on. It's still going. Yes, it's still going. I'm hoping the video doesn't pick up the slight whine from the lighting. I'm not sure why it's doing that. It wasn't doing it before, but it is now. So hopefully, fingers crossed. Okay, so let's just go. I'm just going to go through these books really quick, give you sort of my star rating, just my general impression of most of them. It's kind of a mishmash of fantasy, romance, science fiction. Yeah, and then I threw in a couple that I DNF'd over the last, 6 weeks that they weren't really for me. So I put them on the list as well. Yeah, so let's get started. First one is Spark of the Everflame. So I'm sure most of you that do read fantasy may have heard of it or possibly read it. I liked it. I rated it 3.75 stars. The characters I enjoyed very much. I liked the story. There were a few little things, like I did certain points where the pace kind of slowed down a bit. Then something would happen. Then the pace would slow down a bit. Then something would happen. But overall, I really enjoyed the story. I am going to continue on to the second book. I've got that on my TBR coming up, which you will see. But the only thing that I thought was really weird was her name. And I know that's kind of silly, but all of the other names in the book were fairly straightforward. And her name was Diem. And every time I thought of her, I thought per diem, which it was just weird for me. So I was kind of like trying to figure out a way to kind of get around that. So maybe that was what put me off a tiny little bit on that story. But anyways, the Spark of the Everflame, did really enjoy that. The next one that's up was this is my first Sarah J. Maas read. I had a few people who said that because I'm not a huge YA person, that this would probably be a good place to start. I do have the Throne of Glass series, do plan on reading that, but I'm reading this one first. And can honestly say I liked it. I rated it 4 stars. What actually, it was almost a 5-star for me. Could have been a 5-star, except for the first 300 pages. I found it way too long, longer than it needed to be. Now, I know all 3 books are that size because I do have all 3 books, and I will be moving on to the second one. But this could have been completed a lot quicker. So, but I would say that I would say 300 to 400 pages, and from there onwards, loved the whole story, liked the way it ended. There surprised me actually quite a bit at the ending. fantastic. So I'm looking forward to moving on to the second book in the series, and that will be coming up soon. I'm one of these people that once I read the series, I do want to move on to the next ones in it. There's the odd one, which the next one, where I am going to give it a bit of a rest just because I didn't like it as much as I thought I was going to, and that is Red Rising. I love sci-fi books. And I wrote a sci-fi space opera. That's what I'm writing right now. This one, I liked it. I gave it 3 stars, but I had a hard time through the whole book. I had a difficult time with his age, and his decision-making processes were very bizarre to me. Um, but I kind of got why they were the way they were. And I did like the ending. So I am going to continue on to the second one. When I bought them, I bought the 2 together. They came from the book outlet, which I do buy quite a few books from because they're pretty much like new and super cheap. So I bought this one and the second one. So I am going to continue on with the series, but not until after the new year. I'm going to give it a little bit of a rest. Never mind the fact that I'm doing like sort of going into a huge final edit on my second book in my series. So I'm just going to kind of wait on this one. I am going to be going with a few other sci-fi series going into the next few months to see how they go. Yeah, so we'll try that. We'll see what happens. So that was that one. Now on to a romance. So this one here, Chasing the Night, is Stealth Ops number 6. So the first 5 books in this series I read quite some time ago, and it was Bravo Team. Now I don't know if because it's a 10-book series, I don't know if that 5 books were written by the time I finished the first 5 books. Because then, you move on from there. And then she wrote another series called the Falcon Fall series. This is Brittney Sahin. She's one of my favorite authors. And I read the entire Falcon Fall series. And a lot of the characters from the Stealth Ops appear in the Falcon Fall series. So I really felt like I wanted to go back and read. And I'm glad I did. Chasing the Night is Wyatt's story. And Wyatt, I loved him from the Falcon Fall series. So it was really great to get his story. I gave this 5 stars. I loved this book. I mean, it was just like, yeah, it was great. And I'm glad I went back and read it. Brittney writes pretty much suspense romance. A lot of military sort of background in it, but they're not in the military. They are at the point where they are out of the military, but in security groups. So that's why each one each story is set around these groups. And it's just like fantastic. Love it. Loved it. Loved it. Next one is the 8th in the Kathy Reichs series. So I would compare Kathy Reichs to Patricia Cornwall, kind of like she writes obviously murder thrillers that center around science. So she's forensic. Temperance Brennan is the main character thread through the entire series of the books, and she is a forensic anthropologist, and each book is a separate case. Meanwhile, she has small cases in between, but typically I love how the mysteries evolve. I love how from the first book to the 8th book, you have a concentric set of characters that follow you along through the books along with her and her development with relationships and things like that, which I loved. I loved the whole thing. But this particular book, I only rated it 3.5 stars. And it's just because the subject matter didn't interest me. It had a very heavy religious background to it. From a certain point in the book, can't remember, it might have been halfway through, they end up in Israel. No comment. It doesn't have anything, obviously, to do with what's going on now because it was written a very long time ago. I'm not really sure when this was written. Goodness me. 2005, this was written. So obviously quite some time ago. But it does center around certain religious aspects with Jesus and all that sort of thing. Not my cup of tea. Did not enjoy that part of it. So that kind of brought the story down a little for me. But otherwise, you know, it was typically a good story. 3.5 is fine. Normally, a reader book's a tiny bit higher. And I'll be moving on to number 9 in the series shortly. So then we have one of the few nonfictions that I do throw in a nonfiction every now and again. I don't read a ton of them, but I read nonfictions that are subjects that I find really, truly interesting, or just a quick read. And that is what this was. You know, I'm not an idiot. Wasn't born yesterday. Have followed Britney Spears through her entire career. I'm not a young girl, but I know who she is. And felt bad for her. I found the first half of the book really interesting because it deals with a lot of her thoughts of when she was younger. Then I found that it kind of got a little bit boring, tedious after that. But it was a quick read. I think I read it in one night. Didn't take me very long. And it was almost like she threw together her personal journal into a book and cleaned it up a little bit. That's basically what this was like. So, you know, I give it 2.5 stars, which to me is average. It's the kind of book you forget it after you are done reading it. That's how I feel about it. And then we have, okay, so before I do this last one here, then we have an ebook that I read, which is another one of Brittney's, and it's a back read from a series that I have not read, the Dublin Nights series. We've got street cleaners going by. Hopefully you guys don't pick that up. Fingers crossed I can get rid of that in the background. So the real deal is the third book in the Dublin Nights series. I think there's 5 books in total. The first 2, it's Adam and Anna, and then a novella, which is when Adam and Anna get married, which is like, so again, kind of suspenseful romance. And the characters from the real deal, which is Sebastian and Holly, play a fairly predominant role in the novella, which, you know, it was okay. Not, you know, first book I loved, the novella was meh. But the real deal, loved it. Loved Sebastian. Probably one of my favorite characters so far in the series. And I gave that one 5 stars. Really, really enjoyed it. I'm moving on to the next one, which is one of the cousins of the family, it's an Irish family, obviously, it's from Dublin. Okay, and then we've got Let Me Love You, which is the Costa family. This is the first book in the series. This is a new series for Brittney. And this is a little bit different in that the characters are not necessarily have a heavy-duty military background. They have some, but what drives them was the murder of their sister. So that plays a key role, sort of, at least in this book. I wouldn't say it's as heavy in the second book. I read the art copy of the second book and enjoyed that, but this one, loved it. Loved Enzo and Maria. They're a great couple, and the book sped through, super fast paced, which I really enjoyed. One of the characters from the Falcon Falls series, which is one of her newer series that just finished, loved that entire series, and he shows up in this particular book, so I love that. Gave this 5 stars. Now, the second one, as I said, I read the arc. I just got the hard copy and I think I'm going to read it again. I tend to be one of these people that I like to read the hard copy. I don't do audiobooks, if anybody ever asks. And that's just simply because I can't retain anything when I'm listening to it. I need to read it. So I do read ebooks. I do have my Kindle, but I actually find I get more out of reading like the hardback book. So the copy that I just received of the second one, I am going to go through and I am going to read that again because I'll probably get more out of it. Plus the art copy, I don't think was the final edit. So I'm going to, I'm definitely going to read that. So that's this one here. Okay, so that's it for that. Now, just hang on 1 second. I have to go get something. Okay, so I know I mentioned I am an author and I wrote a space opera romance, and it is going to be a fairly lengthy ongoing series. The first part of the series is 6 books. It sort of starts everything off and gets the ball rolling, and the first 6 books, each book centers around the romance of the siblings that have been lost and have been found. So it is like a found family. There's some slow burn romances. This particular one, which is The Guardians, is kind of like almost a fated mate kind of idea between we have the humans and the Koreans, and the Koreans have helped us get rid of a species. So it's an interesting how the story unfolds. What my plan to do is I really want to introduce people to this book. I want to introduce people to the characters. So I'm going to take this book and I'm going to annotate it, and I am going to bring to you sort of a summary in small pieces of who these people are. I've done like some quick AI art visuals for myself to kind of bring to life what happens in the book. So I'm going to share that with you. The second book, The Rescuers, is written. It's a good bit longer than this one. And it's going in for a huge edit soon. And I'm hoping to have it available for an ARC by January. So, fingers crossed. It's considerably longer than this one. This one's 300 pages, 85,000 words. And The Rescuers is 125,000 words so far. So we'll see how it goes. But anyways, so that's one of the things I plan for upcoming videos. Now, the other things, I'm just going to read through some of these because this is just sort of what I was hoping to do with future videos. So obviously, I'm going to try and do a monthly TBR. Now, my TBRs are kind of random. Some of them are going to be continuations because I don't like to leave my series too long without finishing them. So there will be that. There's going to be sort of a mix, because I like romance, I like mystery, I like thrillers, I like science fiction, and I like everything. So I am not a one-shot kind of girl. So we'll go over that. Then I will once a month wrap up what I've read. I am not going to do vlogs. Unfortunately, I don't have time to do that. I have a full-time business that I work in. So this is how I'm going to do that part. I figured that's fine. But what I'm going to do, besides doing the teaser videos for my own books, is I'm going to do a few things. So some of the things that I had here is I'm going to give you videos on my favorite authors. And these are not always authors that I would say I see covered a lot. Like Brittney is a perfect example. I've read so many of her books, and so I'm going to do a feature video on her. So there'll be others. I'm going to talk about my favorite genres. and my not so favorite genres. I don't know if I put them together in the same one, might do them separately, but that's kind of an idea. I'm going to talk about fantasy, what I like about fantasy, what I don't like about fantasy, because it's very specific. Book hauls, some of them I might just add into some of the videos because I don't order a ton of books. Um, and some of them I might want to read right away. So we'll see how that goes. Play it by ear, and I will do so. And then one of the things I really want to do is I really want to do a my favorite YouTubers, and that's not just book related. I have YouTubers I follow that are recipe related, just YouTubers that have something interesting to say. Doesn't have to be just about books, but I will feature obviously my favorite YouTubers related to books within whatever video I'm going to do. So that's kind of where I'm at with it. I would love to hear any suggestions that you guys might have on what you think would be fun for me to cover. I'm the like one thing for sure is I'm going to do recipes. Now, I won't be doing those right away because I have to get a particular setup for a stand because I want to be able to have some flexibility on where I can situate my camera. So once I get that, then I think what I'll do is I'll do some baking videos because I love to share my baking recipes. And cookies are in the title because it's coffee, which is my favorite thing in the whole wide world. Cookies, my second favorite, and then no, okay, maybe books or sacking cookies or well, I don't know. It's a toss up between the two, right? They serve two different purposes, very much so. But anyways, so that's the plan, and hopefully all of you enjoy it. I would love it if you would subscribe and like my videos. I don't have any subscribers. My subscribe button is very lonely right now, and it would love to have you participate. So if you can do that, that would be great, and we'll see you soon.